Alright, so yes, Grinding Gear Games yet again updated Path of Exile 2. Yes, we're talking about new updates to skills, classes, and meta gyms. We're going to go over that. Plus some other things the team is currently investigating and looking forward to fixing. And we're also going to talk about skills being hard locked behind weapons and how some players view that as a not so good thing. And this Path of Exile veteran has spent over 6,000 hours in the franchise, and he has some choice words about the ascending process in Path of Exile 2 that we're going to take a look at. And you know what? Check this out right here. If you're anything like me, you might have always thought programming seemed boring, but let's be real, the average programmer actually pulled in over $100,000 a year in 2023 while designing some of the coolest video games out there, so who wouldn't want to be a part of something special like this? And that's where boot.dev comes in, because learning how to program is no longer boring or tedious because their online courses aren't your typical run-of-the-mill boring classes. Instead, they are structured like an RPG video game, keeping you engaged and entertained the entire time. And as you progress, you'll earn XP, unlock achievements, level up, and complete quests. And by the end, you could be well on your way to securing a job earning you over 6 figures a year. And what's awesome is that these courses are designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's even an online leaderboard so you can see how you stack up against the competition if you have a competitive side. And if you ever run into a roadblock, a wise bear wizard named Boots is there to guide you. Boots is an AI that helps you understand by asking the right questions instead of just giving you the answers. Plus, you can even join the Discord community for additional support from fellow programmers and coders. So if you want to learn back-end web development and programming languages like Python and Go, check out boot.dev. Click on the link in the description box and use my code OpenWorldGames to get 25% off your first month or even your entire first year if you choose the annual plan. And remember, there is a 30-day no questions asked refund policy and even a free demo of every course and its interactive features. And a huge thanks to boot.dev for sponsoring this video. Alright, so I say we get into those official updates right now. Check it out. It says in an upcoming hotfix, we'll be making it so that Raging Spirits can only summon 5 Raging Spirits per cast at all levels. They'll also no longer be able to be spawned from triggered fire skills. Now, after this hotfix, we will be making adjustments to other trigger meta gyms. In particular, we're going to be moving towards it being that you will not be able to apply very weak elements from low-level abilities to build energy. It is our intention that using low-level skills with no investment is not an appropriate avenue to trigger copious amounts of high-damage spells. And oh boy, some of the replies here says, can I have infinite gold? Otherwise, I have a bricked character that won't be able to play PoE. All these changes are coming a little too out of left field. And are you guys also feeling that way? And we also have Neversink who says this, I agree to the change, but I think this warrants a full character respec opportunity for everyone. And some people are saying, hey, make respecking free or cost 50 times less, especially with these build breaking nerfs. Again, it's always frustrating to be in the middle of a build that you're really invested in and then all of a sudden have it nerfed. So I'm kind of curious to see if they do anything with the respecking costs or give like an opportunity to do a free respec if you're heavily invested in a build like this. And despite this being early access, yeah, there's definitely going to be those frustrating moments, no doubt. And we got even more changes here. Check it out right here. It says Demon Form now has a minimum of 1 life lost per second per stack. And by the way, what ascension path did you guys decide with, and are you happy with your choice? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm kind of curious. And it also seems like the dev team is feeling the weight of the problems with this game. Check it out right here. We've had a massive amount of players logging into Path of Exile 2 since launch, which has been amazing to see. Unfortunately, such a huge influx of players also create a backlog of customer support requests. Today's news post covers how we're dealing with the situation. And essentially that post goes into the fact that they are overwhelmed by customer support requests and they are in the process of hiring new customer support agents and they need more help, and that's exactly what they're going to do. So yeah, in other words, be patient with this one if you're having issues. They're working on it as fast as possible. And holy crap, this next post has a ton of replies. It says hard crashing, PC locks up. Seen several threads about this. Very commonly people are using X3D chips. And on Windows 24H2, not sure if there's a crash log somewhere I can upload. I'm afraid to play this till it is patched. It wasn't a BSOD or CDT. It was a full-on PC freeze had to power it off. So has anyone else experienced this? Thankfully, I have not gone through this at all. But the dev team absolutely noticed this, and they're currently investigating this issue, and they also recommend to send in your reports if you want to. I'll try to throw the link in the description below if you're having these issues and you want to help out. And some players are struggling with this one right here. Skills being hard locked behind weapons is bad for the game. They go on to say this. I didn't see anyone mention this, but these restrictions really hamper the build diversity. First problem is that they've pre-nerfed the bell, and now you have to get a combo with a quarterstaff before being able to use it. But there's also the fact that you can no longer be a slammer with a staff. You won't be able to flicker with a sword. And when swords and axes do make it into the game, you won't be able to use their skills interchangeably. That's a big deal, and it makes you feel like you don't actually get to make the character you want, and are only allowed to make what the developers want. And as we further get into this, there's some very interesting theories as to why Path of Exile 2 is actually designed this way. But back to the post right here, it goes on to say the following: skill weapon restrictions should either be eased or removed. Most, if not all, skills should be usable with multiple weapon types. And he says, a lot of people are mentioning weapon swaps with weapon set passives. That's not the point of my post. There can be special interactions that are unique to weapon types. Swapping from a staff to a mace to bonk won't allow me to use specific properties at any staff while bonking no matter what. That's the point of my argument. Not being able to use different weapons with one skill is bad. But I once again hand it over to you guys and ask you how you're feeling about this system. Do you prefer Path of Exile 1 and how they handled it, or are you liking the new system and how it works? And someone brought up an excellent explanation as to why things are the way they are. Check it out. It says, I think a big reason for this is animations. They want all animations to look pretty and fluid, and axe should have different animations from a sword, which should have different animations than a staff. In Path of Exile 1, your character swings their weapon the same way no matter what it is, and I don't think they want this in Path of Exile 2. We have a follow-up here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I watched a Q&A a long time ago where Jonathan said exactly this. And to expand upon this, he said that he doesn't like Path of Exile 1 design of weapons having the same feel and design space, and they plan to make them to feel different gameplay-wise. And quarterstaffs and maces really do feel different, and all their abilities are so different. Probably they didn't focus on skills that could be used by different bases too much. I think we'll see more of such skills, to be honest. And to me, that totally makes sense. You want each weapon to look and feel very, very different. If they have the same animations, I really do think that that would hurt this game big time. And we also have an opinion about ascending in Path of Exile 2 from someone that has played over 6,000 hours, I kid you not, in the franchise. Check it out. I just obtained my 3rd Ascendancy passives by completing 3 floors in the Trial of Sekhmet, and it almost made me quit early access entirely. Now, to preface this rant, I want to say that the Sanctum is my favorite league mechanic in all of Path of Exile. I have done 1,000 plus Sanctums, leveled multiple characters to 100, and dropped an original scripture. I love Sanctum, so when Grinding Gear Games announced they were replacing Lab with Sanctum, I was super excited, but after playing this current implementation, I can confidently say it is in a terrible state. Anyway, he goes on to say, it took me somewhere between 5 to 10 attempts to successfully clear 3 floors and obtain my 3rd set of Ascendancy passives. Many of these attempts ended at the 3rd floor, and one even ended at the final boss. Each failure sent me back 30 plus minutes and consumed Imogen Bara, which can be difficult to obtain if you get unlucky. And eventually I decided to go back to farming tier 1 maps to drop a low level Jin Bara that would be easy to complete. I focused on running breach maps, and it took me 10 plus hours to drop one, and this time I dropped 10 insubscribed ultimatums, which unfortunately did not grant the 3rd Ascendancy passive. This disastrous RNG was the cherry on the top of an already incredibly frustrating experience. And so far, you gotta let me know, are you guys also feeling the same way about this process? Sound off. But here are a couple of the main issues that I have with the Trial of Sekhmet and the Ascendancy process in general. So number 1, monsters and traps deal way too much honor damage. Not once did I come close to dying, but the cumulative damage to my honor kept ending my runs. The traps especially seem to do too much honor damage. For example, I was losing 1/4 of my honor when I stepped on the explosive traps that detonate. And number 2, yikes, monster design is not good. One of the aspects of the Sanctum that I really like is that monsters have well telegraphed attacks, and you only fight 1 to 2 monsters at a time. Now, the Trial of the Sekhmet has always way more monsters, and these monsters are often quite fast. Rare monsters especially can be extremely dangerous depending on their mods, And the fact that character movement in Path of Exile 2 is much slower makes dodging these monsters even harder. And we also have number 3 here, which says ascending being gated behind a random drop is really frustrating if you get unlucky like I did. And the fact that higher level areas drop higher level Jin Baras means it becomes harder to ascend if you progress into higher tier maps. I had to stop progressing and go back down to lower level areas in order to get a Jin Bara that was easy to complete. But you know, he also wraps up here by saying some compliments, saying overall I'm having a really fun time playing early access. The campaign bosses and mapping system have been super fun so far. These are some slight issues here and there, but in my experience, the only aspect of the game that is egregiously bad is this ascendancy process, and I hope it gets some improvement soon. And we've got 1,100 upvotes on this one, so a lot of players feeling this as well. Let me know if you guys are in line with what he is saying here, or if you feel like the ascendancy process is fine, leave it alone, keep it as is. And some players are already waiting for some sort of adjustment here, saying this: I attempted my 3rd trial today, and yeah, immediately I gave up when I entered a gauntlet room to find out the floor bombs chunk off like 20% of your honor. Hard to find motivation to power through it when I feel like they will eventually dial back how punishing it is. We'll see if they adjust anything with difficulty, but again, that is always a tough spot because, yeah, once you start fine-tuning difficulty, you can upset a lot of the player base that are enjoying the challenge, and you don't want to make it too easy. And let's check in and see what you guys had to say from my most recent Path of Exile 2 video. As always, I love reading over your comments, so be sure to leave a comment. You never know, it could end up right here in a future video. And by the way, I don't just go off like the most upvoted comments. I just go off of what's sorted in front of my eyeballs, you know, and sometimes it's like a comment that doesn't have a lot of upvotes. So let's go ahead and check out and see what you guys had to say. So check it out. On the group loot issue, the wife and I play together regularly, and we found this early on. Some items were not visible to each other for a short time, but eventually were available for either of us to pick up. It's possible that if you're playing with someone that's a little over eager to snarf up the loot, they'll get almost all of it. There's a setting enabled by default that's likely causing this. Now, if you go and you check under options, game general, there's a setting for default item allocation. By default, it's set to short allocation. If you set it to permanent allocation, you can each have your own items, but should be able to trade if you want. Wow. The more you know. We have some replies here. My wife and I were hoping for a setting like this. We usually take turns grabbing loot, so it will be a refresher to not have to worry about that anymore. Hell yes. I changed this as well as I'm playing with the total loot goblin. The short allocation was so short, you barely notice it unless you were on the body eagerly clicking. Wow, I had no idea. Okay, so yes, that is excellent to note right there. Now, we also have, I usually only game 1 to 2 hours a day. It's been this way for years. Meanwhile, I've been logging 15 to 20 hours every 2 days on Path of Exile 2. I haven't gamed this much since I was a kid. Good times, man. I'm telling you what, that is so good to hear. And let me say this year has been absolutely crazy with the game releases. Right now, honestly, I'm rotating between Path of Exile 2, Stalker 2, and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, because you know what? They have that brand new update rollout. And I'm telling you what, it is so good to be a gamer right now in 2024. And I've heard that 2025 is also going to be crazy. But anyway, back to what you guys were saying here. It says the devs playing the game along us all is something I think gets overlooked a lot in terms of game quality feedback in the gaming industry. Been playing Monk with my girlfriend on Sorceress and soloing as Witch. Loving all the classes. Can't wait to see what comes. That is so cool that there's a lot of couples out there that are gaming together. Love to see. That is freaking awesome. And then we got 40% increased drop rate of Regal Orbs. Is what I'm most excited about. It's like missing puzzle piece of currency items needed in the linear progression, crafting from a normal item to a decked out rare. I have enough of every other currency, but I'm consistently out of Regal Orbs. And we got one more here. Another mobility quality of life they should add would be to grant 100% evasion during airborne abilities. If you leap over a bunch of arrows, those arrows should not hit on invisible hitbox underneath you and damage you. That's such an excellent point. Couldn't agree more with that one. But yes, thank you guys so much for the comments, for love and support on the videos. It has meant the world to me, let me tell you what. But look out for more Path of Exile 2 news and updates. I have you guys covered. And of course, yes, if you're curious about Stalker 2 or Warhammer Space Marine 2. I will also be reporting on those as well, so look out for that. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Take care.